number 2 talks about dealing with terrorism within our own country. The left-wing extremism, the Maoism and the Maoist terror attacks that are still continuing. Today, in a terror attack, in an IED blast in Gadchiroli in Maharashtra, 16 soldiers have been martyred, 15 commandos, and the man who was behind the wheels of that vehicle that was blown up. And these soldiers were on their way to the arson site in Gadchiroli, where just a few hours ago, Maoists had actually targeted machines and vehicles and set them ablaze. 27 vehicles had been torched. And as these policemen moved in the direction of that site, they too were blown up in an IED blast. This is the third attack, viewers. And we're going to bring up those details. Third attack in just the last 3 weeks. 7 big attacks in 2019 so far, taking over 30 casualties. The first one was this is the one which has obviously happened today on 1st of May 2019, where 16 people have been killed. But if you see on 9th of April in Dantewada, Chhattisgarh, also there was this one attack in the middle, just before elections were going to begin. 2 days before that, this attack took place with big number of casualties. The other one was in Narayanpur in Chhattisgarh, where a polling party was actually targeted on 11th of April 2019, the day elections were held. There have been 7 big attacks just this year. So I wanted to discuss whether or not our strategy, government strategy in handling Maoist terror is really working. Let's say good evening to our panelists. Vishwas Pathak of the BJP, Sunil Ahire, spokesperson of the Congress Party, P.K. Mishra, former additional DG BSF, and Prakash Singh, former DG BSF and DGP UP as well. And Mr. Mishra, let me start with you first and ask you this question. Yeah. Do you think that our strategy, the government, is somehow now losing its grip on this zone, on this Maoist terror in the last couple of years?
Yes, a very nice question you have asked. What has happened today? I first salute to my brave hearts and the martyrs. But I can well tell you, as an answer to you, that certainly not. The grip is there from the government. The MAC and most of the states, affected states, they are operating, their operations are going on with all coordinated efforts, and the intelligence sharing is also going on. And I can well tell you what the state police departments, they were there earlier, and during Mr. Manmohan Singh's time, when he was told if there is an enemy in India, it is always, the first is that of the Maoists. The police is well developed, and the new technical equipments and new weapons have been given to them, and the training part of it is very well looked after. And I can tell you that a lot of technical equipments and drones and UAVs have been given to these IRB battalions. I can well tell you that out of all so many states which were there, so many districts, more than 190 districts which were earlier there covered by Maoists and LWA. Now, the areas have already synchronized, and it is 2 days. And this shows that definitely, and the number of incidents which are happening, the effect of Maoists that has gone down because of the development and progress of these areas. If you really go to Jagdalpur, if you really go to Sukma and see these Saranda areas and also Bastar areas, a lot of developmental works have happened. So definitely the grip is there. But I can well tell you that yes, of casualties have to be taken, and you have to see, there's sometimes definitely Naxalites and left-wing extremists, they are successful in their operation. Particularly, they don't come and directly attack you. They are now basing on this tactics of improvised explosive devices. The worst part of it till now, when I was discussing with various operational officers, because the ATVs, the alter here, of course, the vehicle which was blasted, it was not even ATV. Even the Naxalites, when they are blasting, when they are demolishing these ATVs, all-terrain vehicles of paramilitary forces, they are of no use. The ATVs are also not in proper standard, and they are being fragmented into pieces. We have to go for more research and development into this, and I can well tell that the research and development, excluding that of the DRDO, of course, it's a big thing.
Okay.
But the paramilitary forces and the state police forces, they are lacking. I repeat, they are lacking the research and development that is not being taking place. But the operational scenario is concerned, definitely they are advanced, and the technology is there, and also the coordinated efforts are there against Maoism. And that is why you can tell that excluding few districts, most of the areas are being definitely they are out of Naxal zone. And
okay.
These incidents will happen till for a few more years. Definitely it is dwindling, and I am very sure that within another 3 to 4 years, as Mr. Manmohan Singh, as Mr. Modi and Mr. Rajnath Singh, they have told, well, definitely that will come to an end.
Almost 30 soldiers have been killed in 7 attacks this year. So I think that something also needs to be looked into as to why this still continues. Last year around this time, our forces had carried out these very deadly operations where almost 40 of the Naxal terrorists were killed. But so why is it, Mr. Prakash Singh?
40 Naxalites were
yes. So Mr. Singh, one would assume that after those kind of heavy duty deadly operations that we carried out, we would manage to break the back of the Naxals at least in one area. But a year later, they've come and hit us 3 times within 3 weeks in big way.
I have a slightly different take on this problem and our handling of the Naxal issue. You see, if we take a statistical view, yes, the situation has shown a lot of improvement in the sense that the number of violent incidents is coming down. The number of districts affected by Naxal violence that has also come down. And a number of Central Committee and Politburo members, they have been accounted for. So, I mean, you can say that yes, we have got a good grip over the problem. But, I mean, if you look at it more deeply, I would say that the strategy is, it lacks depth. It lacks depth because we are only concerned with the deployment of the security forces, and we think that once we have deployed security forces in large numbers and they are able to sort of account for and liquidate a number of terrorists or the Naxals, that is the, I mean, we are nearing the end of the problem. I think that is, I mean, I would consider that it is a somewhat superficial view. You see, unless you go to the factors, the causes which have led to the birth and growth and expansion of the movement, unless those issues are tackled, merely sort of killing some terrorists, killing some Naxals, that is not going to solve the problem. And I think the root causes, the fundamental causes, the basic causes are still very much there. So I would say that I mean, barely deployment of security forces is not enough. And what's happening on the ground is that the security forces are able to clear an area. Yes, an area is cleared of Naxals, but then that clearance should be followed by the administration moving into the vacuum, sort of stepping into the area and spreading their network of facilities, providing essential services, and starting the development work. Yes, some development work is going on, but by and large, I think it's a rather sad story that areas cleared by Naxals are reoccupied by them, and a lot of development funds which are earmarked for development are actually, a lot of it is being siphoned off. So, I mean,
but that's a very interesting point you've raised. Correct. Mr. Singh, that's a very interesting point you've raised, and actually let me take that point across to our political representatives, because at the end of the day, like you said, it's also what the government does, what the government policy is to deal with the root of the problem that may actually completely do away with this movement and this kind of terror. So, Mr. Vishwas Pathak, let me come to you. And while I do that, I also want to point out that there, obviously, statistically speaking, we have managed to contain this Maoist terror in the last 10 years. In 2009, there were 2,258 incidents in which 900 people were killed. If you look at 2017, those incidents came down to 900 incidents and deaths were 263. So that came down almost, 25%. Further in 2018, it dropped even more. So statistically speaking, yes, but it still continues. Mr. Vishwas Pathak, the question to you then is that how do we ensure that the root of this problem is dealt with?
See, when this government, under the leadership of Honorable Narendra Modi, and here in Maharashtra, Mr. Devendra Fadnavis came in 2014, this government came out with 10 steps agenda. And that agenda envisaged that there should be infrastructural development in these areas, especially in Gadchiroli area. There should be a proper connectivity, therefore 3G towers, solar power lamps, connection of electricity, then education, schools, all those things. And also special task force was appointed to work with CRPF. So multi-pronged strategy was envisaged, and accordingly this government started working. As you rightly pointed out, in 2014, 2,200 instances used to be there, which has come down to 900. And also there were 74 districts affected by Naxalite activities, which again came down to 30s. So with all this multi-pronged strategy, this Naxalites got frustrated. And today's cowardly action was purely out of frustration, because Gadchiroli has witnessed the turnout in voting to the extent of 72%. Life is coming to normalcy. People are enjoying this democracy. And because this country is celebrating the highest festival of this country, that is election, and as the Naxalites are against this democracy, this action is totally out of frustration. I think whatever actions are being taken by the state government and central government in tandem, it is working out and things will improve. Today's action was more of a guerrilla action from Naxalites. It is one of kind. If you look at for last 12 months, in last 12 months there was no any casualty for our soldiers. However, we have killed almost 38 Naxalites. In last 4 years, we have killed 98 Naxalites as against 243 in 40 years. So therefore, I don't want to take the credit as a BJP and all not. We have a continuing policy as a government, right from UP to Mr. Narendra Modi. And I think this problem will be resolved the way we are going forward. And technology is also playing big role. Helicopters are also being provided to this our forces.
Okay, so let me go across to Mr. Sunil Aire and ask him this. Why does your party believe, Mr. Sunil, that this is an opportunity for you to politicize and play your political games? Your Randeep Surjewala tweeted today, and while he expressed his condolences, he said that there have been about 390 soldiers who have been martyred in 5 years because of Maoist terror. Can I tell you what the number of deaths were in 2013 when you were in power? 397 in 1 year. So what's the point of highlighting this statistic on such a day?
See, first of all, I express deep condolences and deep grief and with the families of the martyrs, and Congress party condemns the attack, the cowardly attacks which is done by the Naxalists. Secondly, I pay homages to the martyrs and for the martyrdoms, what they have done for the nation. And first of all, when you are alleged the Congress party of making politicizing, I am really astonished. It is not the Congress party who is politicizing. On the other hand, it is the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji who is on the political platform every day, day and again. He is politicizing it. He is resonating the valor and the gallantry of our armed forces and for the political benefits. May I ask the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson, can they take the same resonation on the platform of political platforms and take the responsibility of the attacks like Pulwama, the sheer negligence and utmost intelligence failures of Pulwama? Can they do that? Secondly, the Naxal attacks. There is on record I have in last 5 years 1086 attacks has been taken place in the Narendra Modi's regime, and
In 5 years.
391 jawan martyred and civilians 582. Yes, in the 5 years, 582 civilians are died in only Naxal attacks. I am not talking about the border
So
and
in
cross-border and all
2013,
military attacks
that's
and
exactly
terrorist
my
attacks.
point, Mr. Sunil Ahire. In 2013, when your government was in power, when your party was in power, there were 1136 incidents. In 2009, when again you were in power, you had already completed one term. The second term had already begun. Your
But we did not went on stage.
2258
Our Prime Minister, Dr.
incidents
Manmohan
took
Singh
place.
did not
Where is the
politicize
comparison between 2200 incidents and 162 incidents of last year for 6 months? What is this comparison you're making right now? And why would you do that?
See, first of all, our Prime Minister, Manmohan Singh, Dr. Manmohan Singh did not politicize, did not made any big fake chest thumping, neither hyperbolic statements on political platforms, and no empty slogans
Please,
and
I'm
acronyms
sorry.
were
That's
built
exactly what you're
to
doing here, Mr.
politicize
Sunil
it.
Ahire. Right now, you
See,
are
we have not
politicizing
done.
it.
But-
I am
but
asking
today,
you, why? So,
these
what is the
failures,
need
I am
of
asking
the
it,
Congress party
how-
to raise that statistic when that statistic is abysmal and nothing in comparison to the great martyr record that you had during your time? What are you saying? It's disgusting that you are politicizing it and then you are giving the excuse that it's the BJP that's politicizing it.
See, we are not politicizing. That is, we have not gone on the political platforms, on the election rallies. See, election code of conduct
well,
is violated
if the
only
election,
by Narendra Modi.
No,
Today,
election code of
he is
conduct
violating
has
the
not been
election
violated
code of
as far as
conduct.
the election commission
The
is
People's
concerned. You, sir,
Representation
are not a
Act
judge of whether or not
1951
election
has
code of
clearly
conduct has
prescribed the
been
rules and
violated.
regulations.
Sunil Ahire, election commission decides that. Election commission has already told the Congress party for 2 of the complaints that you filed that Prime Minister Narendra Modi did not violate the poll code. So please go back and check the rules again and then tell us about that, because you can't sit here and decide. But I am going to get derailed if we get involved into this. I am going to go back to our other panelists and our experts on this, because I want to talk about how to completely deal with this situation, what it is.
One single point is there.
Yes.
My single point is that no precautionary measures was taken in this Gadchiroli, because see, I'm telling you, the Naxalites has warned that they are going to do such an attack. They had warned already, and this was told by the Director General Police.
Okay, let me you say
Mr.
that.
Jaiswal
You say
told
that.
yes,
Let's ask
there was
both
an
of our
intelligence.
experts.
Then why the central government did not help the state government?
Let's ask
in
both of our
avoiding,
experts,
in
and I'm
taking
going to
the
go across to Mr.
precautionary
Singh
measure.
first.
That's
I
the
want to
failure
make
of the
this record
central
straight.
government.
Mr. Singh, Mr. Prakash Singh, I'm asking you this question. The DGP of Maharashtra today held a news briefing and he said no, there was no intelligence failure. In the recent attacks that have taken place, especially in the election season, do you see these incidents as a result of intelligence failure, Prakash Singh?
Look, it is difficult sitting in NCR region to be commenting on intelligence failure in a remote district of Maharashtra. But one thing is very disturbing. I was told that the quick reaction team was traveling in private vehicles.
Yeah.
And private vehicles are identified by the Naxals and then blown up, which only shows that information about their traveling in private vehicles was leaked out. So whether there was intelligence failure or not, but I think whatever precautions they were taking were not adequate, and there were probably moles or whatever it was, but this information leaked out to the Naxals and they exploited it to blow up the vehicle and kill 16 of our jawans.
Yes, in fact.
So, I mean, I will not comment on the intelligence failure,
Correct.
but there was a serious operational failure.
No, Mr. Mishra, do you agree? And I found that very odd, but I'm not an expert, so I'm asking you both. Do you agree that the fact that they used a private vehicle perhaps put them in more danger, because that information could then have been leaked by whatever private company they used to hire this car?
Yes, I can well tell you, I agree with Mr. Prakash Singh. The way the operation it took place, the way the movement took place, because I am very sure the information was given to Maharashtra police by the IB, because only early morning about 27 vehicles and bulldozers and excavators were blown up at the Dadapura by these Naxalites, and about a movement of about 150 to 200 Naxalites were seen in Kurkheda and Dadapura areas. Knowing it pretty well that that was blown up, and there was an ID blast just before 2 days, and people, they came to cast their votes, in particular in this election days. It was very sure of in that location Naxalites were there. I can well tell you, in such a thing, even if you go in a private vehicle also, you know your vehicle, the location, the communication, the aerial communication. We also have UAVs and also drones also for those areas, left-wing extremist areas. We have got also a helicopter for communication. Nothing was used. The information, the intelligence was there, and definitely going in a private vehicle, they stopped for refueling at a particular place. I do not know, after sitting at Delhi, how the information could be leaked out, but the information has gone out, and particularly that vehicle was blasted.
Okay.
This clearly shows that there was some failure in the operation. You see, I can well tell you, operational casualty has to be accepted, but it doesn't mean that the Naxalites and the LWV areas are not shrinking day by day.
No, that I agree with you.
We had to lose it
if
in
you see
some
where
cases.
we were 10 years ago, we have obviously
Operation
successfully
casualty,
managed
we take it.
to crack down. Yes.
But there was some problem in this
But
case.
even if there is
Yes,
one casualty
there was
that
some
can be
problem,
avoided,
definitely.
we must do that. Very quickly, running out of
course,
time. But
one
last
has
comment
to
here
have
to
one
Mr.
has to
Vishwas Pathak, who wanted to come in. Go ahead, please. You make your final comments and then we wrap up.
No, I just wanted to make my learned friend Congress spokesperson's record straight. I will just tell you, in 9 years, specifically I am answering this question because his leader, Mr. Sharad Pawar, he is blaming this Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Mr. Devendra Fadnavis. So when Mr. Pawar was there for 9 years as a Chief Minister, there were 36 Naxalites killed. However, in last 4 years, 98 Naxalites were killed, and this is how this government is operating.
Right.
As far as this private vehicle issue is concerned, in today's press conference, Director General Mr. Jaiswal, he clearly mentioned that it is a matter of inquiry. However, he also mentioned that they operate in different ways, so that element of surprise can also be there.
Correct.
Therefore, we cannot straight away say that they were very casual in their approach and all that thing.
Correct, but and also we have to keep in mind that they were also rushing towards the arson site, where already 27 machines and cars had been set ablaze. So perhaps there was some communication gap and protocol that was not followed in that rush to get to that place itself. Completely out of time. Thank you so much to all of our panelists for joining us on this debate. Unfortunately, we've lost 16 lives today. One can only hope that we come up with a strategy that ensures that terror is weeded out both domestically and internationally. Now